guys, more. Make it real for me. Come on, we need some heat here. We need... I'm not buying this. All right, cut. Cut, guys. Listen, I really need to see a little more movement. You're supposed to be in love, okay? I don't get anything like
Pretty
that.
tender moment, don't you
like
think?
Jim, check the lines.
This is a film about sex.
Great, okay.
But not the kind of sex you see on TV or in the movies, like we just watched. Instead, we're going to take a closer look at reality. What some of the things are that can really happen when boy meets girl. But don't worry, this isn't a recruiting film for your local monastery or convent, and it's not another condom education film. More than anything, it's a film about people like you and me. The pressures we face, the hidden costs, and the realities that we rarely get to talk about. What we're talking about is that the sex you see on the big screen, or the little screen, or music videos, or wherever, is usually sex without consequences, and that's not reality. Irresponsible sex can be devastating. We don't like to talk about it, but it can kill you. Responsible sex, you might discover, is definitely something worth waiting for. It seems that sex has gotten more dangerous in the last few years and that there are greater risks. One thing that hasn't changed, though, is that sex is fun. That'll never change.
Hi, Rick. It's Amanda. Parents just left. Don't think we should come back here. So I thought we might try something different tonight. We need to leave a little bit earlier, though, okay? Around 7 o'clock. See you then. Bye.
Amanda, look, I really want to do these friendship things. I do. It's important. But miniature golf on a Saturday night?
Rick, are you saying you weren't having fun with me tonight?
Oh, not at all. I love being with you. It's just that I can think of a lot more fun things to be doing.
Well, what exactly did you have in mind?
Exactly?
Rick.
Have its drawbacks.
Such as?
The lack of privacy.
Rick, we've talked about this before. Can't we just enjoy ourselves while we're here? Or while we're playing miniature golf or doing whatever?
You're right, Amanda. Come on. Let's do a dance.
I thought we weren't gonna do this.
You're right. I'm sorry. This is more than friends. I'll go home.
Really? I don't want you to go.
I don't want to go.
Maybe we can just talk for a while.
Yeah. Let's do that.
It's just that I want us to last.
I do too. I want to be friends.
But love so true can stand the test of time until it's right. How do we say goodnight? Say goodnight. When we both wanna do what's
Hi.
Hi. I'm sorry.
Not your fault.
I'm just really sorry.
Me too.
But I'm glad we stopped.
You are?
We said we'd wait. I'm glad we did.
It's really okay with you?
Yeah. It's not like you're easy to resist. But you're worth it to me. Even if that means playing miniature golf.
Love you.
Felt really bad about myself because of what I was doing, because I knew it wasn't right.
Well, I got to a point where I thought I should stop now, but I didn't. I just kept going.
I felt really guilty.
It would be kind of shocking to me if I never knew it before, and she was with a lot of guys, then I had to check up on her because she had the disease. I don't want to catch it.
It didn't mean anything after a while. We were just having sex to have sex.
If I don't want to do anything, he doesn't have to pressure me into it,
You get a girl pregnant, then you think, you still think it's a game, but in a way you don't think it's a game because it's not funny anymore.
And I was with my boyfriend for 6 years, and you'd think that was love, but here I am by myself now, so you never know.
I guess there's more to it than just having sex. Obviously, there's some pretty serious stuff that goes along with it. There are some pretty serious emotional risks that happen when sex is the only way that people can relate to each other. And then there are the physical risks. If you are sexually active, you risk getting a sexually transmitted disease. The worst, obviously, is AIDS. You want a second opinion?
A person who is exposed to AIDS and gets AIDS has a death sentence hanging over their head.
The age range 15 to 24 accounts for 75% of the sexually transmitted diseases that are reported annually in this country.
I think a lot of people feel, I can't get AIDS, it's not going to happen to me, it's going to be the other guy.
1 out of 7 teenagers will get a sexually transmitted disease every year.
Kids, and teenagers especially, have a feeling of infallibility about them. And we have to be very careful to educate kids knowing that they are not infallible, that they can get sexually transmitted diseases, they can get AIDS.
Ultimately, AIDS will mark the end of the sexual revolution. There's no question about that. The question is, how long will it take for us to get that information across to everyone? And how many tens of millions of young, productive lives will be lost unnecessarily because of AIDS?
It sounds like the problems are real. But maybe we should get another opinion.
I think probably my biggest concern for our youth today is their great disregard for the responsibility of their sexual activities. In other words,
Give a reception to this rhythmatic lesson. Message don't you be missing. Caught this every session, so listen.
When you say you love me, it doesn't matter.
We just met.
We can't do that yet. When you say you love me, it doesn't matter.
We just met.
We can't do that yet.
Delirious but serious to think that while you're hearing this number, hundreds and hundreds of other people are wondering and blundering. What will the next day bring? Living from day to day, they can't sing like you or me, or be free from an STD.
You got cake, now you rank stupid gang.
Next time you'll think.
It's too late for that statement. Waiting in the clinic when your case went out the window.
I'm sorry, you've got AIDS.
No more good to go. Now you're potent, more deadly than a Uzi. Use the fuse, you woozy,
Woozy.
Friends and neighbors going ooey, ooey.
Guilt trip, it ain't groovy. Second on the list is this girl that gets dissed. I felt affronted by love, but he was only a scrub. Gave a little hug and he slipped a little kiss. To bust a move was his only wish. He was a V-E-T-E-R-A-N. That means way back when is where he began.
She was a V-I-R-G-I-N.
He broke out.
After he broke her in, now she's howling
and growling.
Cause she's been dogged, hearing sounds like down the school hall.
He co-perpetrated, you're impregnated. You know what? I think you should have waited.
Sex is like wine that lightens the mind, but done before time. It's like eating the rind of a lemon.
Men and women, you see the trees, but not the forest. Kicking the chorus, please.
When you say you love me, it doesn't matter.
We just met.
We can't do that yet. When you say you love me, it doesn't matter.
We just met.
We can't do that yet. When you say you love me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you say you love me, it doesn't matter.
We just met.
We can't do that yet. When you say you love me, it doesn't matter.
We just met.
We can't do that.
Pretty fun stuff, huh? Just remember, though, there's fantasy and there's reality. This is an immune suppression unit, an AIDS ward. Patients here face a very stark reality. There are AIDS units and hospices in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco. But they're also in Little Rock, Toledo, most medium-sized cities across the country. These people, many of them young, are too sick to be cared for at home. Here, they can be made to feel a little more comfortable and hopefully die with some dignity. But they will all die.
There are times that it really scares me because, you know, with this virus you can never tell what's going to happen. You can be fine, and then all of a sudden you can just catch something and, you know, catch pneumonia and get a real bad case of pneumonia, and you know, that's it.
I see a lot of people having sex both in high school and in college that they still are convinced that it's not affecting them.
Probably on an average of 2 or 3 times a week, we get people who are still in high school who have found out they're HIV positive.
5 years from now, if I'm still alive, I'll be sick and tired of waiting for a cure for AIDS.
The hard reality of AIDS is when your doctor tells you that you have an illness and there is no cure, number one, for what you have. No matter what we do, we cannot guarantee that you will live past 2, 3 years.
I never know if I'm going to see my daughter grow up.
AIDS is a very slow and painful way to die.
What it does is it just puts a complete stop on where your life is going.
My friend Steve just passed away. He was 24. he'd only had 2 sexual contacts in his life. One was his lucky number, and he was buried last January.
It should be great to see her graduate from high school and see her get married and everything like that, but
You never know, we might find something. I think we better not answer this one. Okay?
This reality stuff is pretty tough, huh? It kind of makes you wish the world of music videos and feature films and ad campaigns were the real thing. But they're not. As we just saw, the physical risks that go along with sexual activity are real and even potentially fatal. But, as we saw earlier, that if you decide to wait, then that's not easy either. So, what are we supposed to do? I don't think there's any easy answers. But I also think that that's the whole point. See, whatever we decide to do or not to do, we need to think very seriously about the consequences. Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And then decide what's ultimately right.
Here's the problem. So much progress has been made in fighting STDs. But with the AIDS epidemic, we just don't have all the answers.
With modern medicine and everything, why haven't they just come up with a cure once and for all? A shot or a pill or something that just kills the stuff.
Well, at this point, they can control some of the diseases. But in most cases, they can't kill them. They just keep them from getting worse.
You can get rid of them eventually, can't you?
Yeah, sometimes you can. But even if you do, the next time you have sex with somebody who's got it, you can get it again. And the next time you have sex with anybody else, you can give it to him or her.
What do you mean, him or her?
It was just a matter of speaking. Also, when that person that you slept with has sex with someone else, then that someone else can get it, and that someone else, and so on, and so on. And that's how a disease can become an epidemic.
Mrs. Lewis, when do you think that they'll find a cure for AIDS?
That's the scary part. According to the experts, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Can AIDS at least be controlled, like some of the other diseases?
I really wish it could. But right now, if you get AIDS, you will probably die.
I thought that's why condoms were used. To keep from getting diseases and to keep girls from getting pregnant.
Well, condoms definitely increase your chance of prevention. No doubt about it. But there's no guarantee. You don't hear this very much, but condoms have a failure rate of about 10 to 15%. Some say as high as 30. It's a great average if you're a baseball player.
You mean you can still get one of those diseases or get pregnant, even if...
Even if you think you're covered, so to speak?
Hey, you make it sound like we're moments away from some gigantic plague. Personally, I don't know anyone who's got any of these diseases besides Mark here.
I understand what you're saying, Brian, but it's affecting this school and this town. It's happening here, more than you or I know.
So what are we left with? Condoms that may or may not work?
Hey, why don't we just say no? Right. Yeah.
That's for people who are addicted to drugs, Tommy.
So what if you're addicted to love? I mean, Celeste, as we have heard, is a love addict.
Tommy, we've heard, is a love addict, too. In his dreams.
Okay, guys.
What about safe sex? What do they mean by that?
For all you hear about safe sex, there really is no such thing. There's only safer sex. But then again, you can't get hit by the pitch if you're not on the ball field.
In other words?
In other words, you could avoid intercourse altogether until you're committed to one partner the rest of your life.
As in marriage?
Believe it or not, it still happens. Some people do wait.
Celeste, will you marry me? Just kidding.
Wait for marriage. Is it practical? Is it possible? Does it even start to make sense? I mean, let's face it, we all know that regardless of the dangers and the risks involved, that some people are going to be sexually active no matter what. But what about those who view waiting, abstinence, as a better decision?
Some say, well, if I love him, then it's okay, you know. But how do you know if it's love? That's all I say. How do you know if he's the one that you're going to marry?
If my girl said no, then I would respect her. And that's a real show of true love.
There's got to be more to your relationship than just sex, and that I don't think sex is the only way that you can express your love for someone.
We've had several girls tell us that are in a relationship, you know, with that sexually active, and it's a bad relationship. They realize that, because all it consists of is sex, that they will not get out of that, because if they do, that means they have to start dating again. And so we go, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with dating again? And they go, then we'll become real sluts, having to sleep around with every guy we go out with. The whole mentality is that if you go out, you have to sleep with a guy.
People saying, everybody's doing it, you got to get out there and do it, everybody's having a good time. I think I would say to them, number one, you're not weird. There's nothing wrong with you. Everybody's not out there doing it.
I know my standards. I know what's good and what's bad.
They are looking for love, which they need. But they've been led to believe that in order to receive love, you need to have sex. Now, the unfortunate consequence about that is that many of them come out of that sexual relationship much more lonely than they entered into it.
There's someone out there for me, you know, and to give myself up to someone that I think I love now is pretty dumb to me.
Most of what I've known about teenage sexuality has come from teenagers themselves. Recently, I sponsored a Write Your Heart Out essay contest, and teenagers wrote in over 10,000 pages about premarital sex. Instead of me telling you what I think about kids having sex, let me share with you what they're telling me. One young lady wrote, "Dear Josh, having premarital sex was the most horrifying experience of my life. It wasn't all the emotionally satisfying experience the world deceived me into believing. I felt as if my insides were being exposed and my heart left unattended. I know I can never have my virginity back. I dread the day that I have to tell the man I truly love and wish to marry that he's not the only one, though I wish he were. I have stained my life, a stain that will never come out."
After I got pregnant, he wanted me to have an abortion.
If your mind and your heart is telling you not to do it with this guy, you know, follow what your mind is telling you, you know, because you can wind up like I did.
Now there's a baby involved.
I'm not upset or anything that, you know, Nichelle is here, but it's sort of like it's a block in my life.
Another letter from a fellow says, "Dear Josh, I wrestled varsity this year and made pretty good friends with the guys in the team. About 6 months ago, near the start of the season, several of us were talking after practice about, guess what? Sex. Well, when it came out that I hadn't had sex yet, they really let me have it. They teased me pretty regularly about it until I finally found a girl who would sleep with me. I just wanted to be like the other guys, to fit in. I've learned over the years from just thousands of conversations and letters from kids all over the world that most kids today, they don't want sex as much as they want intimacy. They want to be loved and accepted for who they are. A 16-year-old girl wrote me after my last tour of England, and she just said, "Mr. McDowell, I want to be loved." And she put in parentheses, not physically. "I want someone who cares. I want to love and be loved, and I don't know how to do either."
So what do you think, Mrs. Lewis? Will Celeste and Tommy wait for marriage?
What do you mean, will they wait? It's more like, could they start to wait if they decided to stop?
Really? I just wonder how realistic it is to expect us to wait until we're married to have sex.
Yeah, but what if it'll keep you from getting AIDS?
Come on, Trish. Who thinks about getting AIDS in the heat of the moment over at your girlfriend's house? The real thing to fear is that her mom or dad might come home early. You know, that's always fatal. I hear you. Hey, grab her. Wait a minute. Wow. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Let me ask you something I probably wouldn't ask in the classroom. How does it make you feel when you think about having sex with someone you know sleeps with other people?
doesn't bother me too much.
It's not the most pleasant thought.
Well, think about it this way. When you have sex with someone that sleeps with other people, you're also having sex with those other partners and running the risk of passing on diseases.
Yeah, real pleasant thought.
Now, we're not talking about just fun and games here. Sure, sex can be enjoyable, but it's more than that. You know, I think that sex is at its very best when it occurs in the right context between two people who really love each other and are committed to each other.
You talking about marriage?
Well, it works for me.
Hey, Mrs. Lewis. Whoa, whoa. Hey, Mrs. Lewis.
Yeah.
So you don't think it's possible for kids to be in love?
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. What happens is kids get confused between the intimacy of love and the intensity of sex. You know, I think that what kids are looking for is someone they can be honest with, someone they can be real with and cares about it. Now, that's friendship. That's not sex. You know, there's some real hurt that can happen out there. Look, you all know somebody who had sex with somebody last week because they were in love, and they're not even together anymore. Now, what does that do to a girl or a guy's feelings and self-esteem?
Mrs. Lewis, you make it sound like sex at our age is wrong. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that I think that there are plenty of reasons to wait until marriage to have sex. I'm not saying that sex isn't enjoyable, but I think it needs to happen in the right context. Look, I have to run. Can we talk about this more tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dear Josh, having sex with my girlfriend has really got me confused and feeling guilty. I don't feel good about myself or my relationship with God. I don't understand why God gave me such a strong sex drive and then says I can't act on it. A lot of kids I know think that God is against sex, but he's not. In fact, he's the one who created it and wants every one of us to enjoy it to the fullest. The only reason he says wait is that he knows waiting until marriage can provide for a maximum sex life and protect you from a lot of potential pain if you don't. But you say, I just don't get it. What's religion got to do with sex? You know, I had that question too. I used to think that Christianity was for the weak-minded who needed an emotional crutch. I thought it was a lot of rules to follow, and I certainly didn't want any strict rules to cramp my lifestyle. But after about 2 years of trying to intellectually disprove Christianity, I couldn't. And I discovered that Christianity wasn't a religion and a lot of cold rules. Instead, I learned that it was a relationship with Jesus Christ, and behind those rules of do's and don'ts is a positive motivation to protect me and to provide for me. I came to understand that obeying God's principles to wait to have sex until marriage was in my best interest. And when I finally asked Christ to come into my life and to forgive me, it ended up affecting every area of my life. For example, I began to experience forgiveness where there had been guilt before. And then he gave me the strength to wait, to say no. I guess I could sum it up by saying that I learned that God loves you and me and wants to protect us.
You know, she's okay. But I really wonder if she knows what's going on. No kidding. I mean, there's no way she's going to scare kids out of having sex.
I don't think she's trying to scare us, you guys. She's just saying here's another thing to think about. It's what she believes.
Well, what do you believe, Trish?
I don't know, okay? I think she's got a good point, all right?
You know, maybe she's right. Waiting until you're married to have sex? What's the big deal?
So, where does all this leave us? You got George Michael telling you that sex is best when it's one-on-one. You've got your preacher telling you that sex is best when it's none-on-none. You've got TV in the movies telling you that sex is best when it's as often as possible. And you've got every medical expert in the country telling you about all the things that can happen if you get a sexually transmitted disease. Who do you listen to? Like I said earlier, you've got some tough choices. Sure, You can sleep around and you can have a lot of fun with sex, but I'm just asking you to look at the reality that we've been talking about, that there is a price to pay. Sometimes a really big price. It's cost some people their self-respect and others their lives. You know, I don't think that waiting is about being a loser or about missing out on all the fun. I just think that it's about choosing what you really want out of life and relationships. What's best for the long run? Oh, one more thing about waiting. I wouldn't wait until the windows are steamed up in the back seat of your car before I made my decision, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's a tough decision. One that takes a lot of strength, then chances are you're going to be encountering a lot of people that very much want you to change that decision, especially with the windows steamed up in the back seat of your car. Hey, look, it's a serious issue with a lot at stake. So just think about it, will you?